I think it's pretty clear now, just the just huge scope of things that these people on the stage are doing, and so that's what this panel is really about, is how to manage the success of music and and academic success at the same time. So in trying to approach that question, I think it's kind of important to think about what success even means, because it's an idea that can vary from individual to individual. So when I was doing some research, I just for the sake of seeing what Merriam-Webster thought of success.
I think I'd bring you down a grade for starting this way.
I looked it up. Just Googled it, and the first definition that they give is the accomplishment of an aim or purpose, which I think is a pretty general, broad definition. A lot of people could get behind. And then the one right below that is the attainment of popularity or profit. And that kind of made me think a little bit, because in my experience as an undergrad, and I don't know, are there a lot of other undergraduate students here, by show of hands, undergrads? I see that definition of success a lot, and especially people that are looking to go into the job market, that are looking for careers, and they kind of directly associate the success of what career they're going to pursue based on their salary or the prestige of that company. But that this panel, which is about academia and music, it kind of rejects that notion of success. So I was wondering if each of you kind of has a personal definition or interpretation of what you think success means to you. And that could be the same, general idea of success, or it could be, you could have different ideas of success for your academic career and your music career. So, yeah.
There we go.
So this is something I think about a lot. I'm not necessarily that interested in pursuing a career in the academy, like in terms of like a research position or like a professorship. So for me, success is getting the piece of paper after this long process and being able to then speak on this topic that's really interesting to me, and perhaps having recommendations for how community studios can move forward. I think in terms of music, for me, success is just finding a way to make it sustainable, and in a way where I'm not, where it's still fun for me, where it continues to be fun for me, but also that I don't have to sacrifice my relationships with people, which is, I think, what's been really hard for me over the past few years as it relates to this growing success, at least in terms of people like paying attention or like buying stuff or being involved, is that I just have no time for like cultivating relationships with people, and I have dropped off for a lot of people and not been there for a lot of people because I had shows or because I had music related engagements or just because I had to create and so I couldn't interact with others. So I think success for me is being able to be comfortable making music, to live comfortably making music, but also to do so in a way where I can invite people in and like have real relationships with people too.
Okay, so I've come to define success basically by longevity. How long can you do something? Are you able to keep doing it? You know, the longer you can do something, to me that's like real success. If I can do this, the things I want to do forever, and then like I just die, I don't even care what happens next. And to me, that's like incredibly successful. A friend of mine who's very old and very wise calls it perseverance, and he'll be like, persevere. And but he's right, and he has a story. He's been playing the banjo for like 60 years, and he said the best banjo player he ever knew lost his hand in like a carpentry accident, and now he's better than him. And it's kind of like a joke, but it's also true. It's like he's still playing the banjo, and he's like getting better, and he's still recording his albums. And so like to me, it's not about money. It's not about popularity. You can make a lot of money really quickly, and usually you're doing something shitty to people. You can get really popular really fast. A lot of times by stepping on people's necks and stuff. But if you can do something for this really long period of time, to me that's like really, really successful. Because it's really hard to do something for a long period of time. It's really easy to do something, make a big explosion or a big boom in a short period of time. So for me, perseverance or longevity.
So when I look at what I would consider being successful, or something that I've done that I feel like within music that was successful, is it's all about impact. So as I kind of alluded when I first got here, you know, I mean the only place I could actually hear like hip hop, or you know, hear hip hop the way I like it, honestly, is, you know, as a grad student, I would go to all the undergraduate parties. I wouldn't miss one because that was it. I mean, literally, that was the only option. And once we started getting some of the graduate students together, and especially graduate students of color, you know, so think of it like this: your freshman class, when you come in, I don't know how many freshmen there is that come in per year, but you have a cohort of people that come in with you. You know, it's 1,000, and then you might hang out with 100 or even 25. 30 of them might be people you see every day, interact with. Once you leave and get into graduate school, especially a PhD program, as a minority, as a woman, that comes down significantly. When I was recruited to Cornell, my class was about 5, right? And, and out of that 5, of course, it's me as a brother here. And out of, the 5 classes ahead of me, it's still just me, right? So I would have to go to the business school, and this is before I met my circle. I had to go to the business school, or literally just randomly walk up to another brother like, yo, what's up? So that's how sparse the community can be, especially when I first got here. So imagine now trying to add entertainment on top of that, or add, a place where you guys can just go and just be and just do what you want to do. So because of that, we kind of saw a void, and like I said, it wasn't just myself, it was myself and my community kind of really backed me on this, and we got together and we was like, we were going to cultivate our own space because it doesn't exist. And now, I go back to those same clubs, those exact same clubs that I talked to the owners about, hey, can we play hip hop? Can I play, 2 Chainz? Can I play just whatever I want to play? And they literally told me no to my face. Now, I get emails every day. I get calls, I get texts. Hey, man, can you bring the crowd? That's what they'll say. Can you bring the crowd with you? Can you think you can DJ this weekend? You know what I mean? Or I go into some of these clubs, just walk in and Rick Ross is playing. And I was like, literally, if you'd have told me this 5 years ago, that some of these clubs, I walk in and just randomly have Rick Ross playing, I would have told you a lie. Because I couldn't perceive that. That's how far it's been. So when I think about success, I think about impact, and I think about, how the dynamics of nightlife have kind of changed. And like I said, not just myself, but, the community that has been supporting me changed that face of kind of like the nightlife. So now you go on a random Thursday in here, not all of it, but you'll hear little bits and pieces. So
how do you make choices and sacrifices when I guess on a lower level as an undergraduate, there are times where I want to play this show, or I want to put out some music, or even just attend a show, and I can't because I have this obligation, this club, or this prelim or something to study for, and there's a lot of those choices that I feel like I have to make, and then when you get to the graduate level, it's even more time consuming because you're invested in a particular problem that you're in a very narrow scope of knowledge, and you're going very, very deep, very much in depth into that. So how do you make those choices? Is there, I guess, an example of like a sacrifice that sticks out to you where you had to choose to go one direction at the expense of the other, and how do you face those decisions on such a frequent basis?
So I'll start. So all you guys been to like the state fair or fair or something like that, right? So when you if you win like the big prize, you get this huge bunny, right? Or walrus or whatever they give you. You know, these huge stuffed animals. So they do walruses. So think of these different topics as a huge bunny or huge bear, the big stuffed animal. So you got your sleep. It's one big huge bear, right? You got your academics, which is those big old walrus or something like that, right? And then you got your social / free time. Now, the music and everything's gonna go right along with your social stuff, right? So that's another big bear. You only got 2 arms. You're gonna hold 2 at a time. You know, you might be able to kick the other one down the road, but it's really not beneficial for them. So you can only really, hold both of it down. So at some point, you're gonna be holding your sleep and your academics. Or you're gonna have to put the sleep down and pick up your spare time / your music, right? Or you might have to put all that down and just hug sleep. I said that to say, it's almost, I'm not saying it's impossible. You might be able to hold them with your teeth, but it's not practical to try to do it all at once. I don't doubt people's abilities, but it's very hard to do that. So at certain points, you're gonna have to make a decision. Am I gonna sleep or am I gonna work on this music? But number one, as a student, and I can't say this strong enough, if you flunk out, you won't be here. So, not to say that you can't say, you know what, I'll do this assignment, in an hour or so. You can put it down and pick it back up. Don't put that bear down for too long. But it's almost impossible to carry them all 3 at the same time. So you got to make a decision on which 2 you can juggle, comfortably, and then interchange them. Like I said, you sleep and then you work on your music, or you're not gonna sleep today and you work on your music and you get your work done. It sounds crazy, but that's what's worked for me for a couple years now. So.
Yeah, I mean that's a great analogy. And then I have a family now, and you add that into the picture, and it's like 7 bears basically. Yeah, and then you get parents, and you can try to like squeeze them all in really tight sometimes. So I think the analogy is great. What I want to add on to that is, first of all, I would never advise any of you to plan like 2 careers or something. This just kind of happened to me. It sounds like it kind of happened to the 3 of us, and we're kind of managing it. But I would never be like, yeah, you should go off and try to start 2 full careers at the same time, and then add a family to that. But you don't choose any of that stuff. But I think what keeps you juggling the bears and kicking them down the road and the walruses and stuff is that you really have to really want to do the stuff you're doing. You have to think it's important, and you have to believe in it. And if you have some sort of like bullshit motive, like oh, I'll just do this for a second, I'll make some money, or oh, I just want it, like, you don't really want it, then you'll have no motivation when it's like the absolute hardest to carry all the stuff at once. You'll just like throw them down the ground and leave, and you'll have wasted all that time carrying them. So you have to really, like, I really believe in what I'm doing with the label, I really believe in what I'm doing with school, and of course I believe in my family. And so as a result, I just don't even have a choice but to kind of like struggle through carrying all this stuff. And so yeah, but I'm really happy. So I guess that's the thing. Like, I think I'd be really miserable if I felt like I was doing all this work and I hated everything, or I hated one of the things. I'd be like, why am I spending all this time carrying this goddamn walrus around with me? But instead it's like, so, yeah.
I think they all touched on some really important points, and I'm like trying not to get emotional, but I think what he said about like choices, I recall a few years ago, like driving back from New York City at like 4 a.m. after I had just done a show, and I was so angry about everything. I was so mad about the choices I had made. Like, why did I agree to do that show? And there weren't even that many people there, and I have a class tomorrow, and I haven't done the readings, and like, it was just all bad. But like, doing enough of that type of stuff has helped to like make this thing real. And I think, you know, when I got home after that long day, after going to class and not knowing the readings and like BSing in class, like, and getting sleep and waking up, I was happy about having done all of that stuff that was really, really, that made me very miserable at the time. So there's a huge payoff when you do care about the thing that you're doing. I would say for me, it's about being strategic. So like, in terms of album releases, I would release an album at the beginning of the summer, or like during the summer, because I know that I have time then to be able to follow up on that project. It doesn't make sense for me to drop a project at the beginning of the semester because I'm going to be teaching or doing whatever. And so there was a lot of like timing as it relates to school obligations for me, in terms of kind of navigating that like academic pressures in school and sleep and all that stuff. So like making sure to use breaks very, very strategically. There's a break coming up. I'm going to record in the city on Monday and Tuesday. I already have booked the time to do that. And anytime there's any free space, I'm like working on music stuff. When I'm driving, every time I'm driving, I have instrumentals playing and I'm rapping over them and I'm recording ideas. My phone is full of like those little voice memos, like half-recorded voice memos of, oh my God, I had this idea in the shower, wherever, it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to use that time because I don't have any time to do the stuff that I really ultimately love, which is music, so.
Yeah, I taught, this semester I'm just doing research, but last semester, or 2 semesters I was teaching, and it was also like South by Southwest, or there'd be these like shows, and I remember like vividly like, get out of class on like Wednesday, which was the last class, like go fly to like Texas or whatever, be like awake for a couple days, come back, get to class, like right in on like the red hour before class, and I'd just be like, and then I remember my students would think, like told me like later on when it was over, they said they thought I like smoked a lot of pot, and I was like, no, I was like, it's the opposite, I was like, it's the opposite, like I don't have time to like, it's funny, so yeah, it totally reminds me, yeah, they're totally these days, they were like, oh, you were just like really hungover. I was like, no, I just literally like, I was like doing this other crazy thing, and then I had to like come here and do this great, and then it's the vice versa. I'd be in like a show in New York, and they were always, I forgot that you were like getting your PhD, and I was like, yeah, like I'm trying to like work on that, and so, I don't know. Just know why you want to do what you're doing, or don't waste your time doing it, especially now.